Hi, I'm Pam, and I would like to welcome you to the Live Authentically show. On my show, I talk to people about how they live authentic lives and about how they help others connect to the essence of who they are. I would love to invite you to join my Facebook group, where we have a group of like-minded individuals committed to their spiritual growth and transformation. You can find us at liveauthentically.today/FB. I'm super excited to be launching my first book. It will be out in early 2020, and it's a spiritual journey through my personal growth and transformation and self-actualization, and contains all of the keys that you need to unlock the secrets of the universe so that you can create the reality that you desire. And on today's show, I have a very special guest with us. His name is Brian Basho, and he's going to share with us his experiences. He was in the U.S. Marine Corps. He has his own podcast, and he is dedicating his life to helping other veterans cope with post-traumatic stress disorder. So welcome to the show, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day to be here. Before we dive into who you are and what you do, and before you tell us about our podcast, I always start my show off with the same question. And that question is, what does it mean to you to live authentically every day?
I think living authentically, I think people have a lot of different views on it, but, I was kind of thinking about it before I was before we started recording, there's this saying where it's like, you can always tell someone, a good person, because they do something when someone's not watching, or they do like the right thing. I believe like authentically is like, you do what you feel in front of everyone instead. So it's like the opposite. You're going to say what you feel your opinion is. You're going to dress or do whatever you want, regardless of what others think. And I think we live in a society now where it's social media and everyone's just trying to be like the next big thing and trying to be cool. But being authentic is being you, doing what you believe in, and live that day by day. It's not easy. We're so worried about what others think, but you really should. At the end of the day, you got to make yourself happy and authentic.
Right. And was there ever a time on your journey where you felt like you weren't living a life that was truly authentic to who you were?
Yeah. I think I could say when there was a time in the Marine Corps, after the Marine Corps, where I had mental issues going on, PTSD, and I was lying to myself. I was not being the real me because all the other demons in my head that weren't letting me be the real Brian. And I think, there's so many ways that you can improve the authenticity. I think people just think, oh, well, I spoke with the way I felt. But no, it has to go with the mental aspect. You gotta if you're struggling with something, you gotta get help, and that'll help open up lanes so that it can help you be the real you, so you're happy.
Right.
But yeah, so I guess around that time period, before I really started getting help, wasn't who I was.
Yeah. And I think that everyone who has stepped into a life of authenticity has a tale to tell along the lines of living an inauthentic life. And I say that with no judgment. That's how we step into our authenticity. It's how we learn through our life experiences. And I do notice a huge difference in the way I feel. Now that I have been launched into my authentic reality, I feel totally different. And I'm wondering if you had the same experience where you feel different all around, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally.
I started I Got Your Six podcast last February, and it was kind of just like me as just being in therapy. It wasn't like a real thing. And I'd say since I started that, I've been very open. And I feel like because I kind of use that as my platform to kind of talk about all my struggles, and people can just listen. So now it kind of helped me where I'm like, I don't really care if people think I'm crazy because I have PTSD. I mean, that's not the case, but it's like, I just don't care what people think, because I could be like, they could just go on my podcast. I'm just speaking what's real.
Right.
And it helps me become, feeling better and a better person in that aspect.
It's incredibly freeing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
A lot lighter.
Now, like before, I was like kind of like shy-ish guy. Now I'm like, people are like, shut up.
And there's a certain,
this is who I am. No, you don't tell me.
There's a certain magnetism around people who know who they are, and it's definitely has
confidence.
Because confidence, right? It's that magnetism. It's that energetic component that draws.
That's gotta suck. You're living a life. I mean, we all kind of go through phases, but there's some people that live their life and they don't even enjoy that happiness because they're so they're maybe in a bad marriage or in a bad relationship, and they just like they're this person who they're not, and it's just like, yeah, it's horrible. People should. I like how you have live authentic. I believe in that, and there's a lot of ways of doing it. And I
Right.
think we're educating people. Like some people think, hey, it's just, oh, I'm gonna, wear the shirt I want to wear. This big ugly yellow shirt. And then it's like, no, it takes growth, it takes phases, it takes time to really be who you are.
It does.
Living authentically equals happiness and confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I love too, I've also experienced that, it's a very, you're no longer concerned with judgment. I know you talked about, caring about what other people think, what other people think. When you're living a truly authentic life, you're just confident being who you are, just being who
you
you
don't care.
Just put yourself out into the world where your beliefs and thoughts and actions and behaviors are all harmonized.
Yeah.
And that's what, I mean, then you're no longer in a place where you're concerned about keeping on the mask or putting on this facade so that certain people will accept you or not judge you. And it's incredibly freeing.
Yeah, I mean, once you love yourself, everything else comes after that. I mean,
right.
Like I do little videos now for my social media page for the podcast, and I'm like, 2 years ago, I would have never done that because I'd been like, oh, people are gonna think I'm weird or think I'm, like this. Now, like, just have it with like my hairy chat, like just be like, oh, I can't put that out, like, like just like I gotta be, because now I'm just so free with it. So
right.
it's like,
right.
yeah, you don't care, like you said.
Right. And the way I look at it is finally, part of my journey. I reached a point where regardless of what you do or who you are, there will be some people who agree with you and some people who disagree with you. There are some people who are energetic matches, some people who aren't. And the good news is that there are 7.6 billion people in the world. So sure that whatever your reality is, there will be people there to meet you and greet you and celebrate who you are. And the ones who aren't meant to be in your reality will just simply and gracefully fall away. So it's all okay.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of people to go around and we all find our matches, but it's so important, just so freeing and liberating to just step into
the energy you put off is what you get back.
Right.
If you're a positive person, you're going to be around positive people. And that's so true. And if I look back, I journal a lot and I like go through life and then I start like deep thinking. I'm like, wow, when I was like in a bad spot or a dark spot, which is around shitty people, like I was in a bad relationship and I don't know. It's just kind of weird how that, like, it's like if you're going to wake up and say, I'm going to have a good day, you're probably going to have a good day.
Right.
Rather than you wake up like, oh, it's going to be shitty and, and just mope around all day, you're going to get that energy back.
Right. I mean, that's so true. The law of attraction. I mean, it won't let it happen. First, won't let it happen any other way. And I was sort of late to the party on that. I didn't hear about attraction until I was probably in my probably mid 30s at that point. But I always think, gosh, how different my life would be now if I had known about this, if I had been employing all of these universal laws all along. But, we can never go back, obviously, so we can only take the knowledge and move forward. But the law of attraction is always echoing back to us what we're putting out, whether we realize it or not. And after learning about it, I was able to look back and say, oh, now I see why I kept attracting certain experiences or people, etc. So it really is amazing to see how powerful our thoughts are.
Sure.
What I love to do next is, rather than, I always like to have people color in their history, color in their chronology, because I'm just so fascinated by how people's life experiences have brought them to where they are. So I'd love to talk about your podcast in a bit, but first, will you lead me through your sequence of events, through your progression, going into the Marine Corps, what you did after that,
absolutely.
After that, and how that led you to your podcast? I know that's a pretty big question, but I know you.
Yeah, no, actually, my whole part one of my podcast is that, so I'll just kind of put the episodes in my head and kind of do a little timeline here. So I grew up in North Jersey. I'm a New Jersey guy. And my parents were separated around like I was 7, young. I have an older brother, older sister. And that definitely had an impact on my life, kind of like seeing parents at that age. And, I played sports, went to, all through school, I didn't really have parents around a lot. Like my mom traveled a lot. So I had like babysitters and I'm really close to my older sister. So she kind of played like that role. And I didn't really, I wasn't a good student. I was getting in fights, it was probably me like acting that behavior because I wasn't getting attention at home. Now that I look back. And went to high school and, Same thing. I was a bad kid, hung out with the bad kids. I was a good athlete. I got sent to reform school when I was a junior in high school.
Okay.
So what happened? My parents sent me away because I was that bad. I wasn't going to school. I was 17. So like, what do you do with a kid at this age? You know. So they sent me to a school upstate New York called Ivy Ridge. I don't think it's around anymore. And yeah, it was interesting. They took me in the middle of the night, so I was sleeping, and these big diesel dude and some other guy came and transported me to Ivy Ridge. Because I
Wow.
woke up, the one guy had handcuffs on me. I'm like, what? What is this? Yeah, I thought it was a bad dream, but it was a bad dream of reality. Um, and went to a school for a couple months, and kind of couldn't go outside. Couldn't like got it was almost like some kids got paid. Judges ordered them to go there.
Okay.
So it was definitely I grew up in a middle class, upper class family, so it was kind of like, huh? Like 17, like I'm used to doing what I want. So it was a wake up call. Um, I went to Valley Forge Military College after that to play some football, and about a year and a half in, I talked about this on my podcast. Is I came back from so I'm like sophomore year in between coming back for spring semester, and what happened was is I had all these demerits. So I went to a military college and
Mhm.
I came back and I'm like, why do I have all these demerits? Well, obviously I was probably goofing off and being a bad kid, but I had all these demerits and I called my mom like I'm leaving. She's like, no, you're not. So I was like, I'm leaving. Just watch me. So the next morning I walked down to the dean's office. He was like this colonel because it was a military college, and I left. And I call this was Brian's rock and roll tour on my podcast. Is I went to all my friends' colleges and slept on couches and
Mhm.
kind of just being a 20-year-old at the time, but and came back home around 3 months. 3 months of just kind of living, on couches and doing whatever. I was like, nah, I got to so kind of thinking that. And went home for like a year. Really, nothing was going on. Nothing was intriguing me. And joined the Marine Corps when I was 21.
Mhm.
Went to boot camp September of '08.
Okay.
Um, and I was until June 2012. Wow, the years are so weird. But I did two deployments to Afghanistan. I was in a Marine infantry unit. Um, got out of the Marines, went to I hiked the Appalachian Trail for about 300 miles because I didn't know what I was going to do, and everyone kind of laughs at me. Like I did a podcast with this guest, and he's like, "So you were an infantry guy, and the first thing you did was go hike when you've been living out in the woods?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's kind of funny." He's like, "I do the same thing." He's like, "Because you can do it, like it's on your command." Um, Went to Monmouth University for a little bit, and this is where I started like kind of like struggling with some demons and stuff. I didn't really know what was going on. And let's see. So I went to Monmouth. I dropped out of there, and I went to school online. And then for the next couple of years, just kind of jobs here and there. And then 2014, I got into tech in the tech world as like a project manager, as an entry level, and kind of just rose up and throughout the last couple of years, I ended up having a team of software engineers. And in the background, all that too is a lot of personal self growth. So, especially in the last year and a half, I'd say.
Great. So I know that you said, at one point when I read your write up, your bio, you had talked about just experiencing some of the post traumatic stress disorder symptoms, not quite understanding maybe what they were, having to navigate those. At what point did you? And again, if I ask anything that's too personal or something,
Yeah, no,
anything that you don't want to go back to, please
yeah,
let me know.
yeah, no, no.
But at what point did you say, "Gosh, I wonder if what I'm experiencing might actually be post-traumatic stress disorder"?
I thought about, I had a night where I thought about suicide. And I knew, yeah. So I was like, and that's where I was like, I need help, you know. I was drinking too much. I woke up the next day and I was just like, wow, drinking and all that stuff just makes you feel like shit anymore. But I woke up, I was like, I can't be feeling this. There's so much more of this life. I got a family, I got, I ended up getting a dog after that too to have like more purpose. But it was just like that time and moment was, whoa, kind of scared me. So I felt like I was losing control completely. You know?
That could be completely jarring. Where did you go for help? What did you do?
So I got help around 2014. I went to, this is such a hard thing for me to do because, at this time I got things, I'm like, I don't need help.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with me. You kidding me?
Right.
Like, you kidding me? And that's, the stigma behind it, I just came back from two deployments from Afghanistan, and I'm going to tell you I'm sad. Like, what? Like, it's actually the complete opposite in my opinion. I think they're real strong people. But I went and got help. I talked about it. Well, obviously, I talked about my pal. Stop saying that. I went to this therapist for the first time. I had like an appointment around 1 o'clock, and my mom got me this person. Wasn't like VA or anything. I didn't want to have like any like buddy seeing me like go to the VA or anything because I was like, I'm not a wimp. And I remember it was at 1, and I got there 15 minutes early. But I also, when I pulled in, I was like, ugh, I don't need this. Because it was going to be, I don't know, it was a lot of emotions, for the first time.
Sure.
And I didn't go in. The appointment was at 1. I went in like 1:30 for the last half hour. And the guy was just walking there, I'm like sweating, like just like, I thought I was doing something wrong. And, just after a time, I got comfortable with it. And maybe like a month in is where I started really opening up.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy's huge. I still do group therapy with VA or veterans group. I'm trying to do some meetups, form some groups around here, do some stuff.
And what other, are there some healthy healing modalities that you incorporated in addition to your therapy sessions? What lifestyle changes that you made that helped you in your recovery?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing big for me was, I had therapy and then I moved to Jersey City and and then, I was feeling good and then I had a hernia surgery and I ended up getting hooked on painkillers. So I went like, my life is just like so up and down after. And I have a good friend that opened a gym up here in Jersey City, and it's crazy how it just happened. I haven't seen this guy in probably a couple of years. He's very inspirational. He's just he owns like 3 CrossFit gyms, very well known. And he sent me a message like, "Hey, I just opened a gym up in Jersey City." And I'm like, "What?" So actually, the physical activity has helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was on like all these like anxiety pills and whatnot. And once I start working out, I'm good.
Okay. So I know that
being physical, being active is so huge. It's the mind going. And,
right.
Sometimes some days it's hard to get out of bed, but just get outside and just look at a tree or something.
Right. Yeah. I was just going to ask if you like to spend time outside because I know that can be incredibly calming.
Yeah.
In nature. I'm a huge fan of that.
Yep.
And they made it back with exercise, of course, comes all of the chemical and the physiological responses to the release of endorphins, and it's just it's a healthy part of any regimen, but particularly when you're healing from something like this, to have a multifaceted approach.
No, yeah, you got to be busy. And one thing I say to people is a routine. You got to have a routine. Like I get in trouble, I'll get lost. Like I'm not sitting here and preaching. I still have bad days. But if you I do it all the time. I'll get out of my routine, and I think by journaling helped me pick up on that. Like I love journaling. I like to know if I have a bad day, why? If I had a good day, why? And then that way I can track. If I'm having a bad day, I'll track different procedures. But yeah, no, that's definitely journaling is a good idea.
I'd love to talk about your podcast. I'd love to hear more about that. Exactly, precisely what was the point where you said, I think I have a broader mission here. I think that I can use my challenges, my experiences for the greater good. Did you have was there a particular moment that was memorable, or did you have an epiphany at some point saying, you know what, I think this is my purpose?
Yeah, when I went into the podcast, I was just kind of like, I don't know, I like to like try different things and something that would stimulate me and get me now like getting out of my comfort zone because I feel like that helps you human growth. But I did the podcast, like I said, around this time last year. And, I went to New York City. Like I said, I live right outside New York City and did a podcast recording. And I was like, I remember driving there and I was like, I don't even have anything written down. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. Like, because I was just like, I knew what I wanted to do inside, but I was so scared. I wanted to do it for like a year. Okay. I was like, I think if like some veteran gets on there and just talks about himself and his struggles, it will help others. Because I like, for me, I like to see someone, read a book or hear someone talk about their struggle, because it helps you feel like, oh, they overcome, or they, you can struggle with them remotely. But I was like, all right, I'm going to do something like that. And what happens is I just ended up talking from when I was, just like kind of my life up to now after the Marine Corps. Because, I had some small kid, parents get divorced. So I tried to message it so I wasn't just hitting veterans as well. I wanted to have like a more open mental health discussion and over time I had like 2 episodes. I was recording like very randomly. It wasn't like I didn't have a website or anything. I was kind of doing it as therapy. I was kind of like half in, half out. So like I was kind of scared about it. And after like 4 episodes, I had like my Marine brothers, like people reaching out from high school. They're like, what you're talking about has helped me so much, inspired me. And I'm like, whoa, like that is powerful.
It is.
That was like, whoa, that was not on the agenda. I was kind of being selfish, but hearing those words is like, makes me want to go record another episode. Like if someone's out there struggling, I know there are people that are going through the same stuff and they feel like they're alone. There's a lot of veterans, there's a lot of veterans that commit suicide. It gives them a platform to kind of hear a struggle or hear someone else talk and just kind of relate, because the veteran community, we're so used to being around people all the time. So I feel like if you listen to somebody about like a podcast, you feel like you're there. You feel like, all right, I feel like I'm back in the barracks listening, with my boys because this guy has a podcast episode out. So it kind of helps heal in some ways. So so now I got talking to some sponsors this week for the podcast. It's been wild. It's kind of like out of nowhere. So,
Congratulations.
like I said, and I always say too, I was like, I think what helped me is because I'm authentic. And I think people relate to that. There's some podcasts I listen to that are like have the same topic, and I'm like, this is weird. It's too scripted. Like I do podcasts, I don't even have a script. I just talk. Because if it's real, it'll come in my head. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that is such a huge key of or piece of authenticity is being real and being raw. And people have asked before, like, can I swear on your show? And I said, if that's who you are, then go right ahead. I mean, I just want people to feel comfortable, and it doesn't offend me. I want people to to just be who they are. And I think that's what people want. That's what sparks growth and transformation, connection, vulnerability, transparency is realness. It's being raw. People want to be met where they are, right? They don't want to be shown, here are the 10 steps to overcome post-traumatic stress disorder, or here are the 10 steps to navigate, divorce with a smile, things like that. No,
that's not real. That's not life. That's not how it is. Because I'll hit the third fucking step of PTSD and I'll go back to -2. Like, and people want to hear that. Like, they want to hear my struggle. It's not all like, you hear these things, it's like, well, I had PTSD and now I'm perfect. Now I'm an inspirational speaker. It's like, that's bullshit. Like, I don't like people that do that. I like people that are, let's talk about the struggle. Let's friend our evil demon friend and hold hands together and talk about it. But there's too many fake inspirational speakers. And I don't know. Like, so I refuse to be like that. That's what I'm about.
Yeah, I can definitely sense the authenticity. I mean, it's you embody a piece of who you are. So I applaud you on what you're doing with it and how you're spreading your message to a broader audience. What's the most challenging aspect of dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder?
Random days of, there'll be some days where it's like, hey, I don't even want to do it. And it kind of comes in an aspect where it's like, the way I do it is I isolate myself. I'll hide from the world.
Okay.
So that's tough. There's some days where you're just in a funk. I mean, some people are like, well, I get funks too, but no, it's like, it really takes over, and, I try to think positive, but I can't think of anything positive to think about during those days. And it's just battling, there's just keep moving forward. It's easy. I'm not going to say us because I'm not going to speak about other people but me is, if I have a bad day, I could spiral out of control. And I'll catch myself too. I'll go to the bar or something. It's like, I'm okay with drinking, but it's like, if I get, well, I I going there because I want to like socialize, or am I going there just to kind of? And I'm guilty of it at times, but it's yeah, no, there's just some days out of nowhere.
I'm sure the randomness element has to be so challenging to deal with. Feel like you're doing fine, and then all of a
Uh,
sudden, out of nowhere,
that's where I
that like sort of Damocles kind of dangling, right? You never quite know when it's going to rear its head.
yeah, there's just some people, I don't know. It's like, oh no, I live a wonderful. It's like, oh, I don't know. I get a whole topic on that, but it's
Mhm.
like just there's just random days that are just just tough, and
Yeah.
and I refuse to give up. I refuse to let it take over. So
hmm is there a go-to modality or go-to mechanism that you use to help sort of bring yourself out of those really challenging moments?
I have a dog. We'll go outside, and if one thing with me is I got to get moving. Like if I
Okay.
sit around all day and feel bad for myself, then that's how the day is going to be.
Mhm.
So, and I think by me getting a dog, he forces me to get outside. He
Okay.
forces me to move. And some vets have a hard time finding a purpose. He's my purpose. You know what I mean? Like he's my purpose to get outside, to get up. So there's a lot of good therapy dogs in general. He's not a therapy dog. I adopted him, but he's kind of is. But just kind of therapy with dogs, huge.
hmm do you ever have any experiences in dreams? Maybe do you have flashbacks or in the
I don't
inter?
have flashbacks or anything, but I mean, there'll be dreams, just being in Afghanistan and just kind of, waking up being like, oh, because you know how dreams can get sometimes. You feel like they're like real. So it's like,
Right.
holy shit. It's like, what is going on? Like, I thought this was over.
hmm
Things like that. I struggled with a lot of insomnia for years where I was just not sleeping for like 3 days, 2 days at times.
Okay. hmm
So, and that's one thing too, is like, you're just very hyperactive. You're just hard for me to sit still at night. So,
Okay. So what advice do you have for people? Someone says, I've just recently been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Are there a few key, I know every situation is different, every individual's response is different, coping mechanisms are different for everyone, but are there three maybe go-to modalities or pieces of advice that you would like to give to people?
so one thing I posted the other day is we all go to therapy. So my advice, therapy obviously helps. In group therapy too. Get involved with like some vets. But also, if you're going to go to personal therapy, have a goal, have a mission. Because what happened with me is I didn't have a mission or goal, and I was just there, not really knowing. Because it's so intimidating to go to a therapist for the first time. And, you don't know what to expect.
Sure.
So you also got to remember, you're there for you. You're there to improve yourself. They're there to help you. Don't let them. It helps that they kind of facilitate the conversation, but write down your goals. What do you want to get better on? Like what you want to talk about, and what will happen is let them help you out. Don't let them kind of drive. And I used to let the therapist drive all the time, and I wasted time. So, and I was like, I'm not really getting anywhere.
hmm
So the advice I got is, write down what you want and write down what you want to improve on and ask them for help. That's what they're there for. That's their
Right.
job. So, um, what else? Just be open, journal. I started journaling and I love it. It's like the best thing. Just about life or just kind of in general about anything going on in my day.
If somebody says, you know what, but I'm not a writer. I don't know that I'm up for journaling. I'm not a writer. What do you have to say to
Well,
them?
I mean, that someone probably will not want to do that. So I'll go into some other things, but I mean,
But
journaling.
I meant someone who says that, you know what, I'm not a good writer. I should rephrase that. Like, says I'm not good at writing. I mean, is there something you can say to kind of encourage? Because I wholeheartedly agree with you that journaling is
It's yours.
amazing. It's incredibly therapeutic. It's relaxing. I mean, I'm a proponent of, I pen and paper all the time. And I used to
Yeah.
only when I have to, but because it obviously has its merits, but I still journal. I still do all my creative writing. I write it out. I brainstorm with pen and paper, and I'm such a firm believer in that. So, and I know I always tell people, just write anything. Stream of
I'll respond. It's your journal. No one's gonna be, and that's like, so you're already thinking someone's gonna judge you for writing. That's
right,
step one. It might be easier to write down things before you say. So,
right.
Yeah, it's theirs. No one needs to open it. No one's going to see it. I used to think that. I was like, no one's going to read my journal anyway. Like, I was sitting there, I was like writing down, I was like, oh, did I write a mistake on that? And it's like, well, who cares? I know what it meant.
Right.
That's what matters, you know?
It's a
So,
great point. Just view it as a judgment-free zone.
yeah. We're so used as society too. We think everyone's judging because it's like video and everything everywhere. So it's like, well, I was walking eggshells. It's like,
Right. Right.
easier said than done, but
Exactly.
Yeah.
So having a goal in therapy and journaling.
Yeah. Yeah. Picking up hobbies. And another thing too, I say is routine. You gotta have a routine. Routine is big, especially military people. We're so used to being in a routine 24/7. We're used to being around people. Get into a routine. I know what helped me at one point was I started setting my day up and having certain times like a routine, and it helped me out a lot. Because we're so built for routine. That's what we're trained to do. So having routines.
Right. Right. I think that's a great point, because I know that's something that helps me as well. I mean, even if I'm not trying to overcome something, dealing with a challenge, that routine is, I can always go to that, right? It's that discipline of following a routine, because I can't always rely on motivation, not like anything else. Like some days I'm motivated to do certain things, some days I'm not. Some days I don't feel like working out, some days I do. But if I relied on whether or not I felt like it, I wouldn't have achieved all of the things that I've achieved. So.
Yeah, and I think there's some of these inspirational, like motivated, like people, like you go on like a David Goggins, all these like jockeys. It's like they almost like they set the tone that there's no bad days. There's almost like you just go for it, and like it's like, no man, like the biggest part of having a routine is getting up and doing the shit that you don't want to do and keep going. That's the biggest part of it. So,
right.
I don't know. I think some people just think it's all sunshine and rainbows all that. It's like, no. It's like
right.
Days that are dark and you don't want to do it is where you earn that strength and growth.
Exactly. Well, that's where the growth happens. Right. I mean, that's what authenticity is. It's obviously it needs to have some positivity, but it also has to have a big component of realness, because that's in that realness and that self-discovery and that transparency, vulnerability, authenticity, all those places, that's where the growth happens. That's where the growth and transformation happens, which is where we
and you also, you can't help anybody else until you help you.
Right.
Like I tell people all the time, it's like, people ask me advice on like social media. I'm like, I'll listen. Sometimes it's good to just, everybody has an opinion about everything these days. It's sometimes just have someone just listen. And, I'm still working on me. I'm not going to tell you everything. Things like I'll just tell you what I went through. That's the whole thing of my podcast. And I don't want it to be this message that I'm telling you how to do things. So
right.
I'm telling you about my struggles and sharing my stories. And there's so many different ways about it. I only know about 40% of PTSD. Some people try to be doctors and therapists these days. It's just people gotta help yourself before you can help others.
Right. Yeah. What I like about your style and how in your approach is that you show people, you don't tell people. And I think that's a huge difference, is you don't tell people like, here are the 10 steps to get through PTSD. You show them, you lead by example, and that's super powerful. And I think that is much more powerful than any checklist we could give anybody. I mean, I certainly would like to share tips, etc., to kind of get people started. But I'm such a firm believer of we all have our own answers. We all have to figure this out on our own.
Yeah, everybody has a different style of learning stuff. People have different styles of, what hurts their feelings, what gets them up every day. It's like there's not one, like, we get so stuck up in, like you said too, like there'll be like a checklist. It's like, this is how you have to do it, and that's the only way. It's like bullshit. Like you got to find what custom to you.
Right.
No one's perfect.
Right.
Like it's just life.
Right. These cookie cutter approaches, they don't work. Everybody's individual, and there are as many different styles as there are individuals. And that's where the fun part. I mean, that's the fun. The fun part is learning and growing along the way.
Yeah, because you figure out who you are. That's it's fun. Don't you want to know who you truly like? Matt, like, I don't want to be 99 years old on my deathbed. It's pretty over the top. But looking at, I heard this from someone before, looking at you, like say you're this person, 99 years old, and you live this life just trying to satisfy others.
Right.
My biggest fear is looking through a glass and seeing the happy guy that did what he wanted to do.
Mhm.
And that's, you look at life that way.
Right. Mhm. It's so true. It's so true.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's like, no, live your life like who you are. Like
Mhm.
that's,
Who you are, a life of no regrets. I mean, that's kind of what I'm,
yeah,
I don't want to look back when I even say, one of my quotes is, I don't think I put it out yet, but it's something about envision your life as a centenary and talking about all the things you wish you did and do
mhm,
those things now, right? I don't want to get to like the end of my life and wish I had done something differently or wish I had traveled more, or wish I had tried
no,
something new. Do those things now. And
yeah.
that's a living.
And then even now in life, it's like, yeah, we've made bad decisions and stuff, but like don't have regrets with it. Use it as growth and how you don't do things again. People get so stuck up on certain things in life. It's like, oh, you're wasting another day of your life just thinking about something that doesn't matter anymore.
Right,
And also too, something's not going to matter in a year from now. Who
right,
cares?
exactly.
Who
That's so
cares? Who cares?
right. And I know letting go can be really hard for some people. I
Yeah,
know that was part of my growth was learning how to just leave certain things in the past. And we're not there anymore. The past is the past. But
hard. It's
it's
hard.
hard. You harbor those, certain feelings and resentments, and it's hard to let them go. But I think for me, a game changer was I realized that I wasn't hurting anybody but myself by holding on
Hmm.
to things.
Hmm.
It didn't affect the other people. They had already moved on. They had already forgotten about
Hmm.
it. But I was still harboring these feelings, and that just weighed me down. And once I could finally let go and free myself, I was a lot lighter.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna sit here and waste my energy. It sounds like when you sit back and think about it, it's like I'm gonna waste my energy on someone else that just doesn't even care about me.
Right.
Like, and I've done that too with like relationships. Like, I'm just sitting here thinking, it's like they don't care. Like, why am I giving them the satisfaction? Like, I'm the one that's hurt. Like it's crazy
Right.
like that. We're
Right.
so focused on others before ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. What do you have any advice for people when they do get stuck, when they get stuck in those mental patterns of holding on to things that aren't serving them or letting those things weigh them down? Do you have anything that you do that's worked well for you to kind of snap you out of that mindset and help you focus?
I mean, I'll I don't know. I don't really like I'll do is I'll just keep moving forward. Like I said, some days are harder than others, but
Yeah.
what I'll do is maybe I'll do something that would be out of my comfort zone. Challenge yourself in something, because then your mind will be like, oh my God, I'm out of my comfort zone. I got to think about that now. And so I think getting out of my comfort zone. So maybe um, I don't know, maybe just kind of sit down and do a podcast or do some other things like I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that you can get out of that. I think maybe reading, maybe exercising, but I think definitely challenge yourself and maybe come up with like a new mission that you want to do. Or like I'm starting to think about nonprofits, so I'm like, I want to think about something out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause once you're busy, is where that shit gets out of your head. You gotta
Hmm.
be busy, 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 busy. It's good for you. It's satisfying when you complete a goal, and it's
Right.
just yeah.
Right. And you mentioned nonprofits. That was actually my next question is what's next for you? You're spreading your podcast. What do you have your sights set on?
I'm a maniac. I have like a million things written down. I just don't know how to organize them yet. um,
What are some of the bigger things you have that you'd like to share?
I'd like to do a nonprofit. I'd like to do a brand, maybe not just specific for veterans, but more of a mental health. I don't know what that is yet. Um,
Mhm.
Something on that radar is what I'm trying to think right now. Yeah, I don't know. I have a million things written down. I just need someone to be like, all right, let's organize these.
Mhm.
We'll see. But the short term, the podcast, I'm starting to partner up with some local veteran groups, and kind of I'm going to try to start a New Jersey veteran meetup that I'm trying to launch in March.
Okay.
That's yeah. So try to get like public speakers. In New Jersey, I just think it's lame on how they do everything. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to try to like if you have an issue with something, try to be a solution for it rather than just complaining about it. So I
Uh-huh.
started brainstorming one night and came up with these ideas how we can do like groups and kind of how we can, with vets if they get in trouble, like with police or have a record, how we can help them be successful out of that. Because a lot of us make a stupid mistake when we're veterans and we get out. How can we just get veterans on a right track in networking and education on mental health? Because I think education is huge. I don't know. I'm kind of brainstorming all the stuff I have now, but
Yeah.
we'll see. There's some things in the works.
That's awesome. Congratulations on your current accomplishments and your future
Thank
work
you.
as well. I just remembered one more question. We have a few more minutes before we wrap up, but I wanted to ask you how you chose the name of your podcast.
I'm not a very creative guy. I got your six is kind of a standard term, and I was like, you know what? I want someone to have, I got your six means that, 6 o'clock is you're back.
Okay.
So, so it's really well known, like police and military. So it's well known in the military. It's like, I got your sixes, other words means I got your back. So I wanted to have podcast name, just like, hey, I got your back to like my veterans out there, like meaning like I'm struggling too.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So where can people find you if they want to look for your podcast, connect with
You can go on igotyour6podcast.com and IGY6 podcast at Instagram and I got your six on Facebook.
you? Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to share with our listeners and viewers?
No. Thanks for having me on. And,
Thank you. Thank you so much. I so appreciate you taking time out of your day to be with
absolutely.
us. I would also like to thank all of our listeners and viewers today. Once again, I wanted to invite you to join our Facebook group, which is at www.liveauthentically.today/FB, and you'll be surrounded by other people who are committed to their growth and transformation. Also, stay tuned for more details on my book launch, which will be coming out soon. So thanks again, everyone, and have a great day.